If you went back onto my blog, FDIS Format, and scrolled all the way down past some stellar content about RTS games, living a year in 1999, past the Acorn Archimedes, you'd find my first post. One of them. The Librex 286 laptop. I bought this for a mere £30 off the internet. Complete and working. Well, working, we'll see. It came to me with the battery pack and charger. It turned on, so I can't disagree with the seller. It is working to an extent. But we had some screen damage. Luckily the VGA out was fine, and the floppy disk drive didn't have the belt on anymore. So we found a replacement for that, but that was a bit of a longer journey. It was the screen damage at the time of buying it. And here it is now. It's looking slightly worse for wear, but there are improvements. So you'll notice the hard drive is out at the minute. The screen is off. I'll just unplug the power here, and we'll have a look around the beast of the 286 laptop. 286 isn't a very liked format, but I think it's worth restoring, especially as it's probably the only one left. Here's the hard drive that came with it. I originally thought was damaged, a JVC hard drive. When I fired it up a few weeks ago, it wasn't spinning and wasn't reporting a hard drive in the BIOS, so I thought it was scrap, but actually turned out to be bad capacitors on the power circuitry. So caps replaced, power circuitry back in, and the hard drive does work. But we know it won't work forever, so I thought we'd stick a CF card in. At the back we've got some nice ports, some COM ports, parallel, VGA out, power. Let me take the keyboard off and we'll have a look underneath at all the gubbins. The board is actually really nicely densely packed and is double layered, so on the back side there's also lots of ICs and bits and bobs, but we're not going to get out today. Taking the keyboard off exposes the ribbon connectors. I'm always fearful of these things, the floppy drive ribbon connector especially, as it's a bit of an oddball. I have managed to find a replacement one if I need one, but at the minute it's hanging on in there. Got a socket for a 287, the main CPU. Here's the RAM, coin cell that just does the date, beeper, 3 BIOSes, 2 for the computer and 1 for video. Here's my CF card adapter, and right over here is the power circuitry. Take a deeper dive here. We'll get down closer so you can see some numbers on some of these chips, if the camera will stay in focus. Over here is the memory, so that's an expanded memory, I believe, of 1 megabyte. There's 1 megabyte on the board and that's expanded, but I haven't managed to configure it yet. I'll just quickly glide over. There's that power circuitry on the right, very simple beast, voltage divider. I believe we've got some pictures of that. There's the CPU, the Harris, 12 megahertz, although it reports as a 12.5, but I haven't tried to verify that. Those patch wires are from standard, they're not mine. The red black wire there are for the battery. There's the video BIOS, and at the bottom is the award BIOS. If it was an AMI BIOS I'd be happier because there's all the information in the world about those, but none about the award BIOS unfortunately. There's that PC speaker and the coin cell that just does the date, so I don't have to replace that really, as long as I don't care about what the date and time is. And there's my RAM board. Here was that drive rubber band which I replaced. Didn't work at first, but that turns out I actually had it wrapped around part of the mechanism and wrong, and managed to get that working in the end, though it is a loud drive. Here's the screen damage, and it progressively got worse. Originally thought it was maybe some sort of masking anti-glare, but turned out to be the liquid part of the liquid crystal display just drying up, and what we're staring at, that white bit, is the backlight. I've attempted a rescue, but it's unrescuable, so we're going to do a replacement. Here's the bad capacitors. If you can see in the next picture, they've totally blown out the bottom, leaked all over the board. So replace those. Also replace the ones on the voltage divider, and got it working. There it is, running from a disk, running Superscape at not a good frame rate. I even got it onto a BBS using my RS232 Wi-Fi. So let's take a look at where we got to today. I intend to replace the screen next. Now I've got the CF card working, and that was a bit of a rigmarole. I used any drive in the end. It's a good utility. I tried lots of utilities, but any drive turned out to be the one that worked the best. I tried Easy Drive, that didn't work. I tried On Track. I never really got too far with On Track, but any drive seems so simple. Here you go, partition a drive, boot from 6.22 diskette, press F3 out, and use Fdisk to set the partition as a primary FAT16 partition. Next I did a high level format with the system switch and removed the CF card and popped it in the PC. I then transferred the files I needed, including any drive, booted to a 6.22 diskette, F3'd out, execute any drive with the parameters that are taken from IDE info about the last drive. And then reboot with no diskette. Any drive will ask you to put a diskette in. This means that you're booting from the any drive boot sector, not the BIOS one. After that, you basically install DOS as normal. The important thing is to remember don't boot from a floppy drive, because you won't be booting under any drive anymore. So here's what any drive looks like when you boot it up. There's that 1 megabyte of RAM being ticked up. Test the floppy drive and hard drive, and you'll see the any drive boot up to the top. Boots MS-DOS straight from the CF card. I'll plumb some utils in the background and just tell you a bit more about how I'm going to get on with the screen. The screen's going to be replaced with an iPad 3 screen running one of these Chinese VGA driver boards that's en route right now, so I'll record that when I get to it. After that, I've got to somehow secrete the PCB under here, probably where the hard drive used to live, and reroute the CF card somewhere else. Maybe over where the modem sits, or sat. Maybe cut a hole in the case or something to get the CF card out. I haven't quite figured that out yet. There's got to be a bit of a space jiggle around, but I think it's doable. There's IDE info running in the background. That gives us what the actual drive is. That reads it straight from the drive partition, not the BIOS. So that's what the drive is. Next we'll, if I can remember how to spell it, we'll run gsetup. I've actually spelt it wrong in the folders there. That's why I, Yep, that's not it. Try again. Yeah, once the screen's replaced, it's then moving on to power, and I'll look for a modern lithium-ion battery replacement. Hopefully if I can get a smaller one, I can the CF card can live alongside it, and I can reroute the CF card so it's gettable without opening the case. That will just make drive transfers real easy. So gsetup is a utility that allows you to set up the BIOS without being in the BIOS. So if you've lost your BIOS parameters or can't get into it for some reason, you can boot this. I take it with a pinch of salt though. The hard drive table is definitely not accurate. I know for a fact that the Type 2 works with my hard drive, which was the 20 megabyte one. It only has 2 heads, but if I type in, it shows here I've got 4 heads. It's also only got 581 cylinders. This reports 615. Things like that. So it reports it's 21 megabytes. It's fairly close. What I do is just take the megabytes as about right. For instance, drive 9 on this is 118. So I believe 120 was a common size of drive. So that's probably the 120 megabyte drive parameter. So exiting gsetup will put us back in the boot loop. What we'll do is we'll boot up and we'll try out some applications. Applications will show that the drive table is correct. 286 has often suffered if the drive cable is incorrect. You might be able to get into the drive, but you wouldn't be able to run programs, especially larger ones. There's a part of the fault with the BIOS, but I'm able to run programs on this now, and it also shows that the power input is stable. After I did the power circuitry repair, I multimetered it with the hard drive running. The hard drive pulled it from 12 volts all the way down to 11.4, which is a little low, but it's still within parameters. Let's try a chess game. Chess is always good to work out CPUs, as it actually takes quite a lot of computation to play. And if I can remember how to type, come on. Chess simulator. So this is from the exact year the PC came out, 1989 to 1990. And there's a good example of the application that you could probably run on this. I'm fairly sure there's a way to use the hand cursor, but I haven't worked it out, so we'll just type in our moves from here. But yeah, no graphical glitches, no strange pauses. It all seems to be working fine. Let's try a different game if I can get out of here. Here we go. What about Rogue? Never played Rogue. It looks really good fun. I love ASCII games. It really makes the imagination muscle work. I don't know how to play, don't know any of the keys unfortunately. So it was a quick run around for this one. So that's it for the 286 so far. Next we'll be coming back and I'll look at how I installed the screen, if I can get it installed at all. And finally we'll be looking at how I can power it up on the move and use it as a laptop. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye.